Be Itonoko Itonoko. Yo, peoples, that was Treble from the Dressrosa arc. Welcome to my One Piece chapter reaction and review. I had to re-upload this because my phone decided to stop in the middle of my commentary, and I hate that. But so, I may not be as surprised around what's going on with this. But we have chapter 840, Iron Mask. And in the front page, we have fan requests. Chopper eats from pots of honey with Beppo, Kumashi, the hiking bear, and Bartholomew Kuma, just like Pooh the bear would. And this is the first time we see Bartholomew Kuma since the time skip. Now, I would not count this as his time skip look, but this is the first time we see him since his protection of the Sunny during the start of the time skip. Moving on. You want to know what this is? Well, these are the soldiers of Germa 66. Why are they immersed in water? That's just culture fluid. And it shows in the front of the page, it shows the entire it shows all of the dudes encased in those vats. A shocking view. Why are they immersed in water? That's just culture fluid. They all have identical faces. Are these guys even alive? Listen closely, Sanji. Humans can be manufactured. Germa has always been renowned as the kingdom of science throughout the years, though it may sound far-fetched now. Even our father was once hailed as a brilliant scientist back in the day before we were born. He was a member of a foreign lawless research team and used to work right alongside Vegapunk on research and development of high-tech weaponry. So it shows you how smart Sanji's father is for him to work right alongside Vegapunk. Him and Vegapunk together? Back when we were but a glint in his eye, yes. And so the groundbreaking feat he and Vegapunk managed to pull off was the discovery of a living organism's lineage factor, but with a few minor mutations. They now had the power to do what was once only attributable to God himself. In layman's terms, they had basically discovered the blueprints to life itself. Once the world government caught wind of it, they concluded that it was a power too great for man to have access to and immediately arrested Vegapunk. The rest of the research team were forced to go their separate ways shortly thereafter. All because some suits thought they were doing what was best for mankind. Luckily, our father managed to escape the witch hut and continue his research and studies on Germa. On his own, he began experimenting with cloning, with gene mutation, and thus with the origins of life itself. And what you see before you is the fruit of all that labor. All these men were born right here in this basement. These men are all clones of a select few, highly capable soldiers specifically chosen for this project. They are known as the Clone Pawns. But of course, none of these soldiers themselves are actually aware of this fact. Countless nations shake and tremble at the thought of our military might, but as great as that fear is, their envy of us is just as great, if not greater. You can't blame them, really. Strong, fearless, and loyal soldiers, all programmed to stare death in the eye without flinching while being eternally faithful to us, no questions asked. If their lives are lost, we simply have a replacement waiting to take its place. It takes a mere 5 years to produce one 20-year-old clone. You could go so far as to call this place a soldier depot. 5 years. That's all it takes for these guys to all grow into mature grown individuals that act like they've had life experiences for over 2 decades. Enough! I don't need to hear any more. And he's looking like this. You're making me nauseous. And he literally just sits down and pops a light. When the family caught wind that you'd recently been running around as a pirate, Ichiji, Niji, we all thought that, well, hey, maybe this is a good thing. It'll help that little runt grow and mature a little. But that was apparently wishful thinking. Look at you. as pathetic as ever. Niji, you? What did you do to Cosette? And he kicks him right in the face. And they're all shocked at it. Niji and Yonji. Well, Ichiji and Yonji. As Niji gets some of that black leg. That's what you get. And he sends him flying. You've committed a grave crime, and I'm gonna drill that lesson into that head of yours. It's time to show you how we gentlemen dish out some butt whooping. I'd tread lightly if I were you, Sanji. Do not forget that we've got quick and easy access to your East Blue Achilles heel. And Niji goes, stealth! Well, this is unexpected. I didn't even know you swung that way. You and that pathetic excuse for a chef would make a cute couple. Just try and fight back. I dare you. All the blood spilled over at the East Blue will be on your hands. Henry Needle! And he knees Sanji in the back with such force that he coughs up blood. And Niji with the haymaker just bodies Sanji so hard that there's a crater on the ground. Aw, Sanji, if I knew she meant that much to you, I would have beat that peasant black and blue everywhere but her face. If you don't mind the company of a cripple, I'm sure we can arrange it so she's a member of your personal staff. Good one. I speak for all of us when I say welcome home, Sanji. Welcome back to your Vinsmoke family. I'll be more than happy to remind you of the hierarchy in this house any time you want. You are the dud, the mishap, the failure, Sanji. Flashback? Listen carefully. You all are my greatest creations of all time. The result of the most advanced progressive scientific breakthroughs and genetic engineering that the world has ever known. Your skills and ability will not be bound by human limitations or boundaries. When the time comes, nothing in this world will deter you five from your ultimate goal. Each of you will stand at the head of and lead an army consisting of only Germa 66, which shall continue to grow and evolve thanks to the power of science. The blood that courses through your veins has been blessed with limitless potential. For that potential to be realized, all that's left for you to do is train, and yes, father! And Sanji's looking nervous. And it all cuts to flashbacks of them training, with all the kids just casually jumping off balconies and landing on the ground, with Sanji being a bit apprehensive. And they're running super fast, with Sanji lagging behind and being out of breath. Jumping flaming hurdles, with Sanji tripping on everyone. And the scientists next to Judge are taking notes. And they're swimming in the ocean, with Sanji almost drowning, having to be both rescued from the ocean and resuscitated. And all his brothers are looking irritated at it. They're all studying while Sanji studies with a pet turtle. And it looks... Who is that? That looks like Yonji kicking his turtle. And Sanji attempting to beat him up, but Yonji beats him up instead. And then we have Ichiji fighting Sanji in a kendo training battle. Sanji hits him over the head with a sword, and it breaks on his face. On Ichiji's face. Then Ichiji proceeds to beat him. No, this isn't Ichiji, this is Niji. Then Niji proceeds to beat him down with swords, with Reiji looking on sort of apprehensive like. And they're all laughing at him. And Sanji is clearly inferior to the rest. His scores continue to fall further and further behind. The results have come in. Lord Ichiji, Lord Niji, and Lord Yonji are all right on track. Their outer skeletons have already started to form, and their bodies have matured into the level of an adult man. Well, it should be of adult men, both in terms of strength and agility. However, it appears that Lord Sanji is, well, as much as it pains me to say these words, there is no other way to describe his data other than to call him a complete failure. On paper, all 4 of their genes were in fact successfully modified, but for some inexplicable reason, he is the only one whose attributes and measurables have remained almost constant from the moment of his birth. What are you getting at? Lord Sanji is simply a normal, regular human being. And we cut to Sanji feeding food to a mouse. Feel free to dig in. I made that just for you. And this rat goes to town. Tastes good, doesn't it? Sanji, you better not be feeding that rat again. Royals must never serve others. How many times must I tell you this? But Your mother has long passed. There is no merit and nothing to be gained from the following the legacy of the dead. For whatever reason, you were not gifted with the aptitude and talents of your siblings. As such, it is your duty to work hundreds, no, 1,000 times harder than the others. You will be a part of and contribute to the plans I have set for the future of Germa. Being a disappointment and lagging behind is not an option. And he proceeds to throw Sanji's plate of food and the rat out and the mouse outside the window. Don't you dare ever prepare another meal again. And Sanji cries. And then Sanji gets beat up again, with all his siblings laughing at him. But, look, I have no choice but to laugh along with them. If I don't, I'll just be bullied too. This is Reiji. I really don't want that. So she's only laughing with them and berating Sanji because she doesn't want to be bullied as well. So it seems that Reiji actually cares for Sanji. No improvements. He has 0 potential. He's an utter waste of space and air. And it cuts to a funeral of Sanji. To think we'd lose him in an accident. This is beyond a tragedy. He was going to be one of the 5 pillars that were to lead the Germa into the future, and yet here I stand, at the wake of a son for whom I had such high hopes for. Huh? Why won't this come off, guys? What's the big idea? And it looks like they put that iron mask on Sanji. Did he seriously go and die on us? This is me, caring. Besides, he was completely useless anyway. And Reiji's smiling, but she secretly doesn't like this. Hold on a second. I don't want to be here. Let me out. Don't leave me here. It's so scary. I'm gonna die. Please, speak with my father. Father, help! They're trying to kill me! We are all working under the direct orders of the king himself. He wished to wipe the slate clean and start over in a world where you were never born to begin with. Why? Let me out! Please, father! I'm sorry! I'm so sorry for being born a weakling! Help, father! Save me! Father! A tragic, heartbreaking fate. And that's the end of the chapter. This was a sad chapter. So, I'm going to start my review now. From the beginning, we find out that the soldiers of Germa 66 are all grown clones. And Germa is essentially just a massive army of clones that not only Judge Vinsmoke has discovered, but he also worked with Vegapunk on this same matter. But at the same time, he was part of a research team that discovered how to clone people and how to modify the human body. But at the same time, during that point, the world government saw that this scientific team, this foreign, lawless research team, they had no affiliation with anybody. They just carried on science willy-nilly regardless of the consequences. But the world government saw them as too much of a power to be, left alone. And they arrested Vegapunk and disbanded the entire research team because they said that this is not a power that man should have at all. So they disbanded everybody. But Judge Vinsmoke continued the research by himself, which attributes to his intelligence for him to continue this by himself and not only succeed in this, but mass produce a massive army of clones without Vegapunk right next to him. which shows you that he might be just as smart as Vegapunk for him to be continuing on like this. And I'm pretty sure he's probably one of the lead people that probably developed the technology for Germa as well. But we also find out that all of Sanji's siblings are genetically modified. Because if you remember back in the chapter back earlier in the chapter, it says their outer skeletons have become far more durable and have become stronger. It shows you that they're not only genetically modified, but they have been genetically modified from birth to be superior to normal humans in almost every way. The only person who has not been modified is Sanji, and he's the only one who failed every test that was put before him to showcase his capabilities. And at this point, Judge really at first thought that he would have to train harder, no 100 times, no 1,000 times harder than the rest of his siblings in order to fulfill the dreams that his father has for him. But it turned out this is not the case. Sanji is just a normal human being. And with that thought in mind, we find out that Judge doesn't want a son who cannot fulfill the needs that he needs for Germa. So he decides to have a funeral for his son, make the rest of his army think that his son is dead, locks his son away in a basement, in a cage, with an iron mask so no one can ever see his face, and just decides, well, I only have Ichiji, Niji, Yonji, and Reiji. That's all I need. Which is sort of bad when you think about it. That is so harsh. You lock your own child in a basement because they don't meet up to your expectations. Sad. But we also see an example of just how powerful the siblings really are. Because when Ichiji and Niji come in to talk to them while Yonji is speaking to them about Yonji speaking to Sanji about the clones, we see Sanji nail Niji right in the face, but it doesn't really faze Niji. And he uses, I don't know if he uses technology to make himself go stealth and disappear, but he appears behind Sanji and then uses something called Henry Needle, which is something similar to his father's move that causes electricity to course through in their attack. But he nails Sanji so hard with such force that Sanji coughs up blood, and then Niji hits him with a haymaker that not only nails Sanji and literally just bodies him, but it craters the ground where Sanji lands. So that just shows you a good example of just how modified they really are. And we also find out that Reiji is not as cold-hearted as we once thought. We see that she's actually caring for Sanji, but she only behaves the way she does around her brothers because she didn't want to be bullied too. But we have yet to see if this actually persists into adulthood. So we get sort of subtle nuances about it, but we haven't fully seen her outright say, well, I don't like to be around my brothers, but I don't only do it because I don't want to be ridiculed or looked down upon. So we've yet to see that, so I can't wait to see that. But overall, this was a sad chapter. I haven't felt this sad since the Marineford War where Ace dies. But because this was just outright sad. Like, this is what Sanji grew up in. But overall, I thought this was a good chapter, and I can't wait for the next one. And we're not on break for the next one, so I like this chapter. I would have thought that we would have seen. Well, we actually got what I was asking for in the last chapter. But overall, this was a good chapter, and I can't wait to read the next one. So, this was good. I really thought this was good. So, yeah, thank you for coming out to see me today. Thanks for coming out to see me. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I look forward to seeing you in my next One Piece chapter reaction and review. And I will see you all in the next video. So, as always, later, peoples.